You're hilarious. Welcome, Tamra, to Sippin' Sunday, the podcast. Please
Um,
let the listeners know what you're sipping on or what your favorite drink is.
okay. Right now, it's been a long day. So I decided to sip on some Douce with some cranberry juice
Okay, this is going strong.
and a little bit of like whiskey mix. So my
Douce, whiskey, and cranberry.
hmm
Lord, how much have you had already before you got on this good show?
let's not talk about that.
Okay, well, thank you. I am sipping my little Sutter Home wine cocktail. TikTok showed it to me, and I was like, "Oh, let me go get that. This will be great." This is the strawberry lemonade one, in my little $1.25 tree glass plastic
That
little
is
cup.
so cute.
Yep, I got this one. I got some blue ones. I need to go back to find another clear one to match, so I can have four. But that's what I'm sipping. So, as you know, as an avid listener of the show and a long-term Adult and Queen supporter, the next question I ask people is, at what age do you feel like you became an adult, if you reached that age already?
Okay, so I reached adult age 2 weeks ago, months after I turned 31.
And that's real.
And
Last 2 months ago.
yeah, adulting is so weird. And being 31, which I love being in my 30s. I don't care what anybody says, I love being in my 30s. But it has been a very interesting journey feeling what an actual adult feels like. I mean, I'm probably still a little childish, but I'm here.
We're gonna be kids forever, big kids forever
Oh,
around here.
period. I'm going to still be watching Bob's Burgers when I'm like 78.
That show's for adults. That show's not even for kids.
It
Like,
is for kids. It teaches like I feel like it, teaches some weird lessons, but okay. Yeah, you're right. Now that I
no,
think,
that's one of my favorite shows, though. I do like Bob's Burgers. I just think as a kid, if I was watching that, I'd be like, "What's going on here? This is not a kid show."
I would say Courage the Cowardly Dog was not a child show, even though we were
I didn't
watching
watch
it.
that one. I wasn't like a Cartoon Network kid. I was a team Nickelodeon and Disney. Cartoon Network was okay,
You
but I
little nigga.
watched. No, I really didn't watch that much on Cartoon Network. Like, it would be a little bit here and there, but Cartoon Network was not my channel.
I feel like I don't know you. Like I feel like
And that's why I love when I talk to my friends on the podcast, because we talk frequently, we know things about each other, but something always comes out that people are like, "What's like?"
I did not know that.
Nope, not a Cartoon Network kid. Nickelodeon, definitely Nickelodeon first, and then Disney when like That's So Raven, even Stevens and stuff like that, and like the movies.
That is so crazy.
You're appalled. Please,
I
people, tune
am
in.
because
Are
I
you?
definitely was a Disney Nickelodeon girly, but at night when it was time to go to bed, I always turned to Cartoon Network.
No, I was at Nick at Night. Nick at Night, watching my little George Lopez when you wake up in the middle of the night, and that's what's on.
No Dexter's Laboratory?
I like would watch that show a little bit. Like, that would be the show that I was gonna say, like Dexter's Laboratory or Ed, Ed and Eddie. But any other real show on Cartoon Network, like I couldn't get into it. I was like, Hey Arnold, Rugrats, SpongeBob, That's So Raven, Zach, Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
I don't. Oh my god! I need to write down a book now. Like,
Yep.
I
No.
did not know that. Well, learn something new every day. I just
So
said
you
that.
were a Cartoon Network girl.
Loved and lived that and PBS Kids.
PBS Kids, I watched more when I was at my grandma's house, because in the summer when I'd be with my grandma, and she did have channels, but so I don't know why I was watching only PBS Kids, but that's where like Arthur was on, The Big Comfy
Yeah.
Couch, those good old shows.
Dang, take me back.
Literally. And two, your thing of saying 2 months ago after you turned 31,
Oh yes,
you
my
became an
apologies.
adult. No, you're fine. No, this is what the
Oh,
podcast does. We just go wherever. What made you be like, oh wow, like now I'm an adult at this big age?
oh wow. Okay, you're gonna be so proud of me because people like outside of just this fun moment, like Amber and I are like, this is like my big sister for real. So we talk all the time,
I do what I can.
and she has to get on to me about a bunch of things. So I'm gonna have we're gonna have a moment that she has not experienced just yet. So I live in a space of always wondering what's the next thing. I think it's my Capricorn placements. Um, but I've spent a lot of my life wondering, okay, like I finished grad school. Okay, cool. Got the grad school session all set and go. And I started my career. And I was like, okay, got the career. Now what's, I'm always thinking about what's the next thing instead of like just appreciating where I am right now. And I feel like at 31, and the reason why I said a couple of weeks ago, because a couple of weeks ago, I sat down and realized like it's okay that at 31 I don't have it all together. Okay.
I'm telling you this forever. But you'll be, but Amber this, but Amber
Oh
that.
my
And I
God.
was
I
like,
like
girl,
literally I'll
I
be like,
know.
Amber, oh my God, like I don't have this yet and I don't have that yet. And I just don't understand because I did the right thing. I went off to college. I got my master's degree. I'm kind of working on I need to finish that doctorate degree, but that's another story for a different time. But I'm always like, okay, I should be doing X, Y, and Z by now. Like I should I got the career, so I should be married by now, or I should be married and have the kids by now. I should have the home by now. I should have all these different things that I assumed at 31 that most 30-year-olds would have by now.
Yeah.
But we also live in a completely different time than most people who were, I'm sure, they were in their 30s 10, 15,
Yeah.
20, 30 years ago. We live
Yeah.
in a space of economic turmoil. Okay. And we laugh about this all the time about how like gas price, and I'm quick to call and be like, did you see the gas price?
Every day I text you, I'm like, this is the gas price today. This is the gas price yesterday. I saw this one over town. Like, it's really
Yeah.
just.
It's really like a thing. And I think that, once I stopped subscribing to it's supposed to be together by now, then I feel like a whole bunch of weight lifted off of my shoulder. And I
Yeah.
think I will be a little honest on this podcast because it's just, I feel like the listeners really need to know a real, like, I'm not saying that people who have cars, a home, their own home, and all these different things at this juncture in their life are, better than whatever. But I want to show another piece of being in your 30s that a lot of 30-year-olds or people who are going to be 30 coming up soon, I want you to see that because it's also real.
Yeah.
So I'm very honest and transparent with people and tell them that I still live with family.
And that's fine.
And that, I mean, the reality is that we live in a time financially where we technically do need to be in spaces where we are, kind of putting together our resources.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people like made it look or make it sound bad that if you live with your family or you live with friends or whatever the situation is, but it's not bad because you have somewhere to live. As
Right.
long as
A
you're
roof.
not unsafe in that
Right.
place, you have a place to live. Like that is what the basis of what you need. Like I don't know why people say like, well, they have this but blah 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 blah. And to your point, when you were like, people think that they're supposed to have it together, or you even thought you're supposed to have it together by a certain age,
Mm-hmm.
I like reflected that I've said it before. I never felt that way at any point of my life. But now, in today's time and present day of us actually saying that, I feel like it was because I was here and made to do what I'm doing to help people like unsubscribe that mindset that like you should have something together by a
Mm-hmm.
certain time. Because like I never had that mentality, and it's not bad. Like I don't think it's either one's good or bad. It's like you're living your life for your life and what you were made here to do and how you were made here to think. But being around so many people and friends that in our 20s were like, I want to do this, I want to be married by this time, I want to have kids by this age, I want to do this by this time. And I was just like, I'm just here living my life.
So we gotta be just living the
And
dream. That's just where I'm at. Like I gotta be living. And you know what? Even today, and I had this moment in my nutritionist appointment. We are getting real, real comfortable here. I have my nutritionist
it's
appointment
the Douce and the whiskey mixed.
in the whiskey mix. She probably be like, "Girl, you're not supposed to be eating that or drinking that." But there's a lot of things that are like I realized in my nutrition appointment before we get further into this, but I realized how dope I was. There are so many things that I have accomplished that a lot of my friends are unable to do, right? So I have friends who do have the kids, the husbands, and all these other things. And they were not able to do something like, I got to go to Bali for almost 2 weeks last year. And I was able to do so because I don't have little BBTT and, you know, Joe Blow at the other side asking me when dinner is ready or whatever the case may be. Like, I was able to get up and go on my own free will, right?
Yeah.
The ability to go and be excited about fitness because I'm obsessed with fitness.
Yes, you're doing great.
Yes, I'm obsessed with fitness and nutrition and all those different fun things. Even though I'm drinking a little whiskey.
See, that's the thing I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up alcohol.
I'm not doing that.
And I eat fine in my house, but if I go out to eat, I'm not gonna be like, oh, let me get a salad because this. No, I'm out to eat because I'm out to eat. Like I want what I'm trying to get.
No, I feel like you have listen, y'all. When me and Amber really know each other. Like, y'all, you know that little fake stuff. People be like, yeah, I know her. No, you know of her. I know my sis. Like, we cannot go into detail why and how and the whens, the wheres, the whys, because that's between me and sis. But like, Amber, I know you intimately. And so I feel like I've seen you eat, I've seen you drink, I've seen you, the things that you do every single day. So I can't say that you are doing anything awful. So like, be for real.
No, yeah, it's a balance. Like that is definitely always a balance. Like I'm not eating McDonald's every day, but like I'm not.
I do love a good.
Also, not eating dessert. Like I'm not skipping dessert, and I'm not skipping.
I'm gonna have. I'm gonna have a cookie. I'm gonna have a cookie. I'm a cookie. I'm a something. So there is that. But you know, I think that those things are all a part of me realizing how dope I was, and that's why I said like there is no real like rigid cookie cutter definition of what an adult is.
No, there's not.
When I realized that like 2-3 weeks ago, I was like, this
you've been sitting here listening to me for years, and now you're like, wow,
snap. Like, oh my god, like I don't have to subscribe to that. Like, oh Tamra, you should have been doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, yeah, but did you get to do this? Did you get to like? Yeah. Nobody knows. Like, I love being an educator. That's one of the things that's at my base of what I am, what I've done for the last almost 9 years of my life. Jesus Christ. But I always tell my students, like, listen, like you're gonna go through the ebbs and flows of life is for real. Like you're gonna have some good days, you're gonna have some bad days, but all of those things make you who you are at your core. And when you really reflect back on all the things that you've been through, the places you've seen, the people you've met, that's adulting. Like,
cut the podcast is done.
Cut the podcast. That is adulting. Not, I got this material item. Cool. And I get it. We live in the world of TikTok, which I love TikTok. TikTok is my best friend.
That's how I went and got this wine from TikTok.
I see what I'm saying. Like, but when you realize, like, if you just go out and live, that's adulting. Adulting is not always having, oh, yes, I was able to pay all my bills this month. Some months, girl, you want to tell the company, like, hey, girl, I'm going to catch you next month. Okay.
And I think of reality, people are not talking about a lot because, like, you know, I was unemployed twice.
Yes.
And I was just like, yeah, this isn't going to get paid right now. And what's going to happen?
Okay.
I'm still here.
We still here living, breathing, getting dressed, going places. I was briefly unemployed last year. You know, that was an experience, and maybe we could
experience indeed.
That was an interesting. I cannot tell you how many times, y'all, that I like called Amber and cried about.
But it's because going back to what you were saying is like you thought that the world and your life was supposed to be a certain way, and I talked more about unemployment and asking people about their experience because I feel like at this point more than half of my friends have been unemployed at some point, whether that was like their own choice of them quitting, the job was like letting them go, there was a choice of either you're going to be let go or you have to go on your own. Like there is so many circumstances of why people I know were unemployed that really don't have anything to do with them actually. And we didn't talk about, or even, I guess not that we didn't talk about it, we just were in the moment of like, we didn't think this would happen to us. that we would be
Right.
unemployed because we weren't seeing our peers being unemployed. You might have saw like your parents lose their job or something like that,
Yeah, but
but that's not the same as you or your friends losing a job. So
that was crazy. Like, I
yeah,
literally to this day, and I think also a lot of people have that are in our peer group, I would say, have probably gone through not having a job and was just very much so living in silence about it, because there
yeah.
is a piece of shame that is attached to not having a job.
Yeah, because I remember when I went to like a conference um in I guess it was like March, like right before I started the new job, and people were like, "Oh, like where are you now? What are you doing?" I was like,
No,
"Nowhere. I'm just here doing the
I'm
adulthood
just living
queen,
the dream. There used to be a guy that
having
used
some
to walk
fun."
around campus. I used to attend. Oh, shout out to SUNY Buffalo State. It's the university
Yes,
now.
we love the SUNYs.
When I was there, it was a college. But there used to be this guy that used to walk around, and if anybody who's listening knows who I'm talking about, we'll talk about that outside of this. But
Ah,
there used to be a person that worked there that used to walk around and be like, "Yeah, living the dream, living the dream, living the dream." And at the time, I was like, "That just sounds ridiculous." But the reality is that you are you are where you are right now is the dream that you were praying and hoping and desiring at one point. Remember that. You got
yeah,
to
if
reflect
it's
back.
not, it's getting you to where you're supposed to be or
Thank you.
go.
Like,
Because yeah,
I really want I want people to realize, like, at one point you were praying for something. Like, I don't know if anybody does this, and, Amber and I talk about it a lot, but I do prayer journaling. And sometimes it's my prayers. Sometimes it's me and God, like, having a feud, having an argument. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Me and God be getting into it sometimes. I like to be honest. I be like, God, you said
yes,
I was gonna do this. You said that I was gonna have this, and now I don't. Where are you, God? But I looked back on a journal entry that I had right before Buff State was an interesting time as well. That's a whole nother story for a different
that
time.
was
But when I was there, one of my biggest things the prayers that I ended up getting it. So the one thing is, like, I want to go back home. I do not want to stay in Buffalo. First of all, if you've lived in Buffalo or anything
it's too far.
West New York, north of the state, I just want people to know who are not from New York. New York is more than just the city and the five boroughs. Like, there's other
Yeah,
portions of New York.
and
So
Buffalo's way up there next to Canada.
yeah, literally. And the two prayers that I was like, I want to go home. And I also don't want to be working in res life. For those people who don't know, I work in higher education. I am an educator of the college educators. Okay, I'm part of that group of people. We are crazy. I don't know why we decided to get that
When
master's degree.
I thought I was gonna do Res Life for Life, like you couldn't have told me I was not going to be in Res Life for Life.
Yeah.
Now you couldn't pay me enough to go back to Res Life. Like,
Oh my God. I'd rather eat all my toes off my own foot before I do that. Okay. The lack of the sanity that I needed. I'm one of those people. I need to have sanity. Like,
yeah, I think yeah, my like just first moving from res life to student engagement and just
yeah,
not being on call, that was a weight lifted.
yeah.
And then just getting out of the college environment, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh Lord, I'm not going back to this traditional way. Like you would have to really pay me enough money and show me all the green flags and give me the same amount of flexibility and um positivity in the workplace that I currently have at my job. That's the only way I can go back to a traditional college campus
You're not
because
gonna get that, sis. I
yeah,
go.
exactly. And there you go. There you go.
That like when
There you
I be
go.
texting you and I'm like, oh Amber, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, because Amber, she has her flexibility with her workspace.
Yes, because I have a full time job, people.
She
Don't let me fool
she
you
has a
because
full
that's what
time
they think I
job. Don't let
don't.
this fool you. She does this, and she a hustler. Me personally, I work in the office 8 to 4
Yeah, you
every
going
single
every day is
day.
crazy. I can't do it again. I would never go back to an office every single day of the God given week. No, I no.
Yeah, no,
I
no, I'm in the
I
office
can't do
every
it.
single day. Do I love that? No. One thing I will say that I love about my job is that I do have the opportunity. I work at my alma mater where I graduated with my undergrad degree. So it's nice. So, like, I'm around family now.
And that's what is good for you though too, that you
Yeah,
don't that you like your job to be able to go 5 days a week. And I think this is
Yeah,
another part about um being a adult and a person. It's like you need to know what's going to work for you. Me going to an office 5 days a week, not going
that
to
does
work.
not work for you.
You going because it was the question that I have for you, and we'll get into this. If your routines that works for you,
Mm-hmm.
but people downplay it and be like, oh, well, like if you have to go for work, you have to go for work. No, I have a choice of what type of job I get and what I'm looking for. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not looking to go into the office 5 days a week with no flexibility. Like that
Yeah.
just would not be a job that's going to work for me.
No, I agree. I think me personally, as oof, I don't, this will be an offline one conversation, but we'll talk about that later. But I'm in a place right now where I'm kind of like trying to figure out what I would like my life to actually look like outside of the
Oh,
house.
so I have a great resource for you. Sipping Sunday the podcast. You can tune in. We talk about how to make the life you create.
Good, let's talk about it. Like, sitting around and thinking, okay, when is my husband gonna come? When are the children going to take? When am I gonna have be a mom, right? And when I'm gonna do all these different things, but um, right now, I don't want to focus on any of that. Like these last few weeks have been nice for me because I've been able to kind of like take a break, not
Yeah, because you are stressing yourself out about things that you can't necessarily control. Like you can control them to an
Mhm.
extent of like making yourself prepared and like thinking about is this something you really want. But I think we talk about this a lot, like the relationship part, especially people are
Mhm.
like, I want to find a man in 6 months. Like that sounds cool on paper, and you can do everything that you're supposed to do or in textbook terms of like what you should do to find a person,
Right.
but if you don't in that time, like that just was not in alignment with what is made to happen for your life. Because before we were here, your whole story was written. We just don't know what it is. We just can't
Okay,
see the
like what
story.
was that? And I think in this time of just healing and growing and building, I realized that the reason why I'm in the space of, I will not call it loneliness. I will call it in the space of waiting. Okay.
Yeah.
We are in the space, I'm currently in the space of waiting. I feel like, and I don't know if people are, spiritual or whatever, because I believe in my ancestors, I believe in God and all those different things. But one thing I realized is that my spirit team and God, they they've seen my ancestors or my lineage, right? They've seen all the things that my mother, my mother's mother, my mother's mother, and my father's mother and father, and
Mhm.
so on and so forth. They've seen those patterns, and I feel like regardless of how the circumstances was for us to be here on this earth, there's purpose in your life, right? So I feel like maybe that I can't speak for God. Sometimes he be a little too quiet in my ear. He don't be saying nothing. But I personally feel like, maybe I'll talk to God about this later. But I feel like I was put on this earth to break. We always talk about break generational curses. I really do believe that because
Yep.
at
I
this,
saw somebody say is they reframed it, which I liked it. They said don't say you're breaking generational curses. Oh Lord, I wish I could remember what it was now. It was something about like you're like a something starter. I don't
this sounds cool though, but you got to tell me about that
Yeah,
one.
basically she's just saying like instead of saying you're breaking a curse, you're starting something new or whatever it
Yeah,
was,
like
but
you're
it
almost
sounded way
having a
cooler.
new like book for that is, your new family
Yeah.
experience or whatever. But me personally, I feel like at 31 years old, my mom was married. She was a pastor's. My mom was a first lady at this
Yeah,
age.
I was gonna say you need to mention that you're a
I'm
preacher's
a pastor.
child.
I'm a PK. I'm very much so PK. Do I give off PK vibes? If you actually saw
No.
me in public, no. Okay. Um,
Mm-mm.
but um, my mom was a first lady. She was married. My mom had a high paying publishing. My mom worked for a publishing company in White Plains, New York. My mom was making money. My mom was doing things. Child, I couldn't even tell you what I had for lunch yesterday. So I think about those things and I'm like, God is really has me in the space of waiting because he wants to refine me, one. He wants me to be prepared because sometimes, we be praying for something, but you have to sit down and ask yourself, are you actually ready for that? Because when you get it, are you going to take care of it? Right? My mother always says this, and y'all can steal it because She ain't got no claims to it. But my mother always used to say, when you are building a house, you have to count the cost, right? You could say, I want this car, but you don't think about the monthly, weekly, the maintenance. I just spent $1,200 2 months ago on tires.
1,200? Oh, yeah, I remember. I was like, wait, what? Yeah, no.
You know what I'm saying? All of these things that you don't think about. You just think about, okay, when I get it. Because I've seen people have it, and I'm like, yeah, I want to be like that. I want to be able to have the house. I want to have all these, but like, are you prepared to take care?
Yeah. And that's for the house part, specifically like an actual house, because I'm homeowner. I think that our generation really thinks they can't get a house.
Right.
And I don't believe that, because obviously I do have a house.
Right.
But I also just don't believe that, because you can get whatever you want if you're putting in the work. And to your point, like, you know how to take care of it, and you know how to continue growing that. And I think, again, it goes back to, like, how do you do that as an adult? You find people that have been where you want to go, and you can talk to them, and you build community, and you do like self-discovery work. Like, what do you like? What do you dislike? Like, and like, that sounds so simple, but it is hard, because then the main thing that, like, with building community, people always ask, like, how do you make friends as an adult? How do you talk about yourself as an adult? Like, people view people talking about themselves positively or saying their accomplishments and stuff as bragging, and it's not bragging. It's being confident in yourself and wanting to share what you know and are put on this earth to do. So I remember at an interview, this was like a long time ago, somebody that's now one of my friends, they said, like, when I came on the interview, they're like, yeah, I didn't like you because you just walked in here because you had known everybody, because you went to grad school here, and you just were like talking and this and that, and like, you just came in like you knew you already had it. And I'm like, but I did I? Because clearly I was hired.
Like, obviously I had the juice. So what's tea? No, I'm glad that you touched on the friends conversation piece of it. Okay. Right now, I am so proud of myself. I have community. Okay.
Yeah, you've been doing good. You really have been doing good, because you made new little friends at the cycle bar.
Oh my God, yes.
And the workplace, and then just like, well, I'm hanging out with your family. Yeah.
I think at this point, I don't desire to have anybody in my life that is not going to take me where I'm trying to go. Not that I'm leeching off of anybody, but I feel like, I think that sometimes when you are in good community with people, people will show you things and gifts within you that you did not even see for yourself, right? And right now I'm in a space where I am trying to, like, figure out, like, okay, I have a career, yes, but I don't want my career to be my everything. And you and I both know, we both work in higher education. If you work in higher education or any type of education, you know that we meet mentors, and that's their life. Their career is everything. My mentor, I love her dearly. I will not shout her name out because she'd probably kill me. But love her down. She is the reason why I'm in the field that I'm in, and I'm obsessed and passionate about what I do. But a couple weeks ago, she told me, she's like, Tamra, this can't be your whole life.
Yeah, and this is not for sure. But I think that, like, when we got into this field, nobody told us how to balance your life with it, because especially starting off in res life, it was like,
there's no
like, you to be there. No. Like, they talked about it, but like, nobody was actually practicing what they preach at all.
Those month-long training sessions that we be in with them RAs, and they'd be like, yes, work-life balance, guys. I'm gonna show you how to, do some face masks. Make sure you get yourself out, get some air, do just really ridiculous stuff that I still plan to talk about in my dissertation when I decide to write it. But I think that those things are important to have outside of your workplace. And I think also having boundaries, right? And I'm sure you'll probably touch on this in one of the questions or whatever, but boundaries are so important. One of the things that my boss always tells me, I've been working at my current position for the last 7 months. Let's talk about
crazy. I'm almost at my job for a year.
I know.
And what's so funny to me is that people be like, what do you even do anymore? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. But I like people not realizing if I have a job or not. And two, I like people not remembering that I live in Baltimore, because I be all over the place. So people forget that I don't live in New York.
My friend bi-coastal. Let's be for real.
Bi-coastal is not just on the East Coast, girl. Bi-coastal is
No,
different
yeah,
coast.
girl, but you can go to other places. You go to other places.
I don't go to that coast, really.
She gonna go to that coast, y'all. I'm speaking in advance for my good sis to be. She gonna be the next Issa Rae without.
You know, it's funny because my mom, good old Roberta,
Love
I
Roberta.
don't know if I've ever said Roberta on the podcast because you know when I talk to people, I say
When we
like
talk
Robin
about
and
Roberta,
Leon.
it's a thing. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I say Roberta and Leon to people or Robin, but I don't ever say it to them, and I never would. But mom, if you hear this, hey girl, yes, I call you Roberta sometimes or Robin. But she was like, "You're gonna be like Oprah, like you're gonna be like Oprah." And even one of my friends that I met here in Baltimore, he always is just like, "Oh yeah, like of course this is going that way because like you're Oprah, you know everybody, you're this, you're that." So
I'm dead. I wouldn't use Oprah because she's a little sus.
Well,
but
yeah.
I would like to say that you are definitely the next Issa, but I think better. That's
we love our girl Issa,
but we love Issa. I can't
and
wait
when you say bring up Issa, it reminded me too when you were saying about the Friends thing that you know I love Insecure around here. I watch that almost every other day, so I'm still watching it. But every time I watch it, I'm like thinking of it in a different way. And with the friend group, when you were like people bring out different gifts in you and stuff like that, I think, and I'm going to do an episode on friendships. I know I keep saying it, but for topics that are a little bit more
personal,
or like controversial, I'm trying to figure out what do I want to share about it personally and then like stick to facts and stuff like that. But when I think about Insecure, that friend group was like so different and like different in class and like income and situations and all stuff because like Tiffany was married and had a child eventually. And then they moved. And then like Kelly was just there, being Kelly, being whatever she was doing, but she had like a full-time job. And then like she ends up getting in a relationship and pregnant by the end of the show. Right. Then it's like Issa, who was the only one on the show. Well, aside from Lawrence, that like wasn't working, like just things weren't working out, was trying to figure things out. And then Molly, this big lawyer making tons of money, but like not really happy with herself with the relationship space and stuff. It's like they were on 4 different pages and you saw the ebbs and flows of their friendships, mostly with like Molly and Issa, obviously. But when you just think about like these 4 different types of people, like they're taking trips to Coachella. Can everybody afford Coachella? Then like they're in the supermarket, Molly and Issa. Issa could not afford 13 avocados. Like,
okay, she couldn't even afford the box of pasta that she had picked up. She was like, you know, I'm gonna put this back. I'm like,
and so it's like that happens in friend groups for real because like we all are in different career paths. We all just spend money different. Like we all have different priorities. And I think that like to stay friends with people, why it becomes difficult over a long-term period of time is because we don't talk about like this kind of stuff as far as like finances and things like that. I mean, I have some friends that I do, but then on other sides, like I think about stuff like, for example, like birthday celebrations or weddings. It's like what one person's expectation might not be what somebody else is able to meet that because of priorities and situations they have going on. And you can be seen as like the bad friend or something because you didn't like,
or because you couldn't afford to rent out the villa with your homegirls because we all, like you said, we all have different priorities. And I think that I want to say right now, I'm currently maybe season 3 Issa currently. And you will, and as we touch on this whole Insecure conversation.
Because it's relatable.
It's so relatable. But, and you also touched on this as well, I think that if you are an Insecure fan, I want you to go watch it again. Every time you watch that entirely, you are a different person in that friend group.
And that's what like also just the show was like every season, everybody was pretty different or had a different thing. But I think the most underrated, relatable character that in the moment when it started, because like when Insecure started, that was in like 2015, 16. So I was like 24 or something, 23, 24.
I was like I was in undergrad at the time.
Lawrence was the most relatable character that we did not know was going to be that relatable. Like we did not in that moment know that we were going to be down and out like Lawrence one day. So
you know what, I didn't even think, and actually right now I'm just having an epiphany because I realized like so now that let me shift that because I do feel like now, I won't say that I'm fully Lawrence right now,
But you were when you lost the little job. Like
but when I
Lawrence
lost the
season
little
1.
job, I was definitely Lawrence, because Lawrence had this idea of like, I'm gonna build this app, and this app, it's gonna be lit. But I can't. Oh, I was like, honestly, we need to work on the name. Like, the name is crazy.
I give that name up all season, and then like, and when everybody wanted to throw something in his face, like Arpana, what's her name, Arpana, whatever,
Aparna, yeah,
yeah,
Aparna,
she was just
yeah.
like, yeah, like they don't really like it like that. And then even Issa, when they were arguing outside, Derek's birthday, she was like, "What happened to Woo Woo?" Because I didn't get no notification on my phone.
Big, my sis was in her big Birkin when she said, I was like, dang girl, you gonna cut him deep with that? That was crazy. But I do agree. I think that in the midst of where I'm at in my life right now, I feel like I'm a little bit of Lawrence, that's the first season, but I'm also in the space of, I don't think people remember when, or because Lawrence was cool, whatever, but everybody was like a hater of him. But let's like take our
the
hate
moment
out.
they were like, he ain't nothing, like leave him, girl. Well, not even leave him, but I think that the other thing people keep forgetting is that Issa cheated on him. That's why he left, because Issa cheated on him. Like Issa was the one that made the mistake that like had them separate. And I do think watching it in the moment, we forgot that, because we were just like, Lawrence, like, why don't you take her back? Like, what's going on? And we know what was going on. She cheated.
We absolutely knew. And I think that's and I think that when he finally kind of like found his job, like finally got the job, right? And he was like, he said something that I can resonate with right now in my life. He said that, because Issa was asking him, how is the new job going? And he said, you know what? I kind of like being on a team. I kind of like helping the much bigger picture. I hate not being the face of it, but being a piece of it. And I work in higher education, but I work in a very, very crusty portion of higher education. So there are people who get to do the fun things of like, oh, I work in like student affairs, and I get to do parties, and I get to do this event. I work in the registrar's office.
Yeah, but we need you. Everybody has a role to play.
Everybody got a voice. I got a space and where they need to be. Okay, right. So I feel like right now I found my space, right, and I'm not dying to be vice president of blah 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 blah. I want to just be Tamra. I want to go to work, make as much money as I can make, and clock out and do whatever the heck I want to do after, right? And so I love that you brought that up, because I never, like, dang, that was good. Aaron, that was good.
Insecure is relatable. I'm telling you, like, people need to go back and watch it. And like, I try to take notes or like think about things every time I'm watching it, because it's different like all the time. Like, it's always different depending on where you're at. And I remember like season 1 for a period, like I really couldn't even go back to watch it because I was like, this season was crazy. Like,
there was a lot going on. It was a lot going on in that first episode, right? Like, there was a lot going on, and I think that as we are growing, and you're gonna constantly watch it, people are gonna constantly watch that show, and I think that's why it was such a big hit, because I feel like people are gonna continuously watch that show and get something different out of it every single time. And I know I did, and I feel like now more so than ever, your community is so important, especially in your 30s. We are all in different places. We not just mentally, emotionally, financially, but physically. I yell at Amber all the time. I'm like, when are you coming back home? And she's never coming back here, which I'm okay with that, because if y'all saw how I be chilling at that girl's house like it's mine, it's crazy. In the background. But you know, I think that it's important to understand to also make time for these relationships. So while we're talking about building community, you got to be able to keep it. One thing that I think that we fail to realize, that friendships are just like romantic relationships. You still have to date your friends. Let's be for real. You still got to go and, you know, get to know them. Things are changing, figuring out what's going on in their life. And I feel like for a long time, I even had this conversation with one of my best friends from forever. We've been friends almost 20 years. But I asked her a couple of weeks ago, I said, hey, how can I be a better friend to you in this moment in your life? I think
that people don't ask people intentional questions really anymore. Like, you just kind of like float through being like, okay, we've been friends for this long. Like, it's like Molly and Issa when they weren't talking or they weren't trying to ask each other like what was going on. It just was like, we're friends, so like you're always gonna be here kind of thing. And like,
not how that works.
Yeah.
Man, and I think that moment when they were in that when they were in the diner and they finally came together to have a sit at the African spot that they go to.
Yeah, that they were avoiding each other at first.
Yes, when they were sitting in there and they finally had that real chat, I was like, wow, that was so powerful, because I'm like, sometimes you just got to sit down and check in with your friends, because you just don't know specifically what we're going through. I touched on this earlier. I'm like, some of us there's such shame attached to a lot of things. Like when you don't have a job, when you are literally trying to figure out how you're going to scrape these $10 together, which is so real, to get gas. Okay.
Yeah.
Like when Issa was putting that $3 in her gas tank, yo, I have a full-time job and I've been there multiple times.
For me this week, I've been in the house, and I've been in the house because last week when I got paid, I actually wrote out my budget, and I was like, okay, we got to make these couple $100.
That budget is giving inside. It's giving
so I'm just in the house.
Side. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that at this point in my life, I feel like you got to be real. Let's start. If y'all don't take anything away from my craziness, because I am a little cray-cray, if you don't take anything away from my craziness, be real with your friends. You allowing these people to stunt on the gram. And let me tell you something. I want y'all to know this, and I'm going to tell you this with great love. Listen to me. Let me hold your hand while I say this, okay? Some of these people that you be seeing on Instagram, whether it be your friends from high school, whether it be your friends that you met from grad school, whatever the case may be, these people are broke. They are going into credit card debt because don't let them bags, shoes, trips. They are literally going into debt because they want to stunt to make you look good, make you feel like they got something going on for themselves. Please don't go into debt trying to like keep up with the Joneses, as my mother used to say. Okay,
so I feel like people don't say that enough anymore. Keep it up.
We do. We need to start saying. I think that we need to get that on a T-shirt. I think that it is definitely important for us to keep it real, and I want us to keep it real, and that's why I was just so open and honest about. And I was like, questioning whether I should say that, but I think that God let me tell you, be honest with people. Like, I still live with family, right? And I'm not ashamed of that. And I will never be ashamed of that, because let's just be keeping real. Back in the back days, you know, when our grandparents,
they had like 20 people living with them.
You couldn't leave the house until you got married. They would not allow you to leave the house until you was married. So in my head, I'm doing what my ancestors used to do. Okay, now that's the only moment I'll let my ancestors lead, because other times,
honestly, I feel like we got away from like the type of community that did happen back then, because like families did do like gatherings, like they did just come together for no reason. Like, but the other part is that people never moved, because if you think back then, like your view was so small of what the world looked like or what you could do or what you could be. So they weren't out exploring as much, or if you did explore, it was like a risk to even be doing that, which sounds crazy, but I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before again, but my dad grew up in the middle of nowhere, Virginia, and he left. I don't remember how old he was when he left, but he never finished. I think he went to school till like 10th grade, but his school was segregated until 8th grade. And when I learned that, I said, oh,
pardon?
Pardon? I was like, first of all, we're not as far away from those days as we thought, because
let's be
for my dad to be in 8th grade, I think he's at 6th, 8th, something crazy to me. And then to know that like my oldest uncle, I'm pretty sure, I forgot how much older he is than my dad, but like he went all through high school, if he graduated high school, in segregation. Like, what?
Like, you have to really be like, when you really sit down and talk to your people, your matriarchs of your family, when you hear the stuff that they were like, child, my family, my mother is from Georgia, so my mom is from West Georgia. I'm talking about Carrollton, Georgia. If y'all ever looked that up it's in the middle of nowhere, y'all. Okay, and my mom and my grandmother always talk about how like how even my grandmother, I'll use her as an example. My grandmother used to tell me, like, Tamra, school really wasn't as important.
No, it wasn't. It was like, get a job.
You need to be working.
Family,
You need to be in that field. My grandmother grew up on a farm. My grandmother was out on the field.
Yeah, same.
In the field. Okay. So when I think about those things, I'm like, dang, I really have done things that I'm literally my ancestors' wildest dreams. Literally. So when you think about the things that you've accomplished and you think where your family members have been, you'd be like, oh, you won't be so as hard on yourself as
you thought you were.
You should, as you have been. You won't be as my grandmother used to say, you won't be as ugly to yourself as you are yourself
Like,
every single
Carrollton's giving a
day.
whole bunch of greenery on the
Yeah,
map.
like I just, man, I'm thankful and grateful for those moments, but I'm also thankful and grateful that I'm nowhere near where I used to be. Right.
Period.
And so when you understand that you're not where you used to be, then it won't be so bad. Because if y'all heard some of the stories that I've told Amber, y'all be like, Tamra, be for real.
Yeah, it's just a wild life we're living. But yes, we're in a better place than we probably thought we would be, or where we've been before.
Absolutely.
And you just do what you can with what you know at the time. And I had to like kind of learn that as far as like opinions changing, or like your wants or things that you think for your life changing, because like when you again have known people for like a long time, especially your family is the first place where a lot of issues come about for your life, because they have known you your whole entire life. So God forbid you want to change something, then they're just like,
they be like, oh no, why would you want? Okay, let me tell y'all a story. So boom, I love a good story. I love a good anecdote. I think Amber is you're gonna hear this, not in the intro, but I always tell people that I am New York made, Georgia raised, New York refined, right?
New York refined. That's cute.
Yes, I'm New York refined, because my parents are no longer together, whatever. That's a story of everybody's, let's be for real. So I'm from New York, but my parents, when they got divorced, we had to move to Georgia. My mom was not going to leave me here with, as Amber calls her mom, Roberta, I call mine Everett. She wasn't going to leave me with Everett, so that's fine. But in that process, when I was living there, I was like, the whole time, I was like, I'm only here until I graduate. After that, I'm going back home. And when I go back home, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to school to be a doctor. And
he was a doctor, not a bad way, but like a doctor.
That's fine. That's okay, because I can't picture myself being no doctor either. Let's be for real. It's me. Could you imagine me in a
she was like a nursing assistant, or like that?
I can't picture me doing none of that. None of that. You know what? I can't. First of all, I got ADHD. I will be like, oh, we in the middle of surgery. Oh my God, where did I put the instrument? Come on now. Let's be for real. Sometimes you got to know your strengths. But at the time, I thought I was going to be an OBGYN. Okay. At the time, I thought I was going to do that. Then, once I got into school, mind y'all, it don't look like it, but
you went to LIU first.
I went to LIU in Brooklyn. Shout out to LIU. When I was there, I was a biochem major. I am very, 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 very good at chemistry.
Good. I don't like science.
I'm horrid at biology, right? But at the time, that's what I wanted to do. But I got the opportunity when I was there. I got the opportunity to work in the radio station while I was there. So I was like, oh, this is cool. I decided to change my major to journalism, child. It was the best decision.
You on the radio or something though, because you have a personality.
I do.
And then what happened to your little TikTok series of you doing the food and stuff? We got to get back Tammy Talks or something.
You know what? And you know what's crazy?
We might need to rebrand.
I'm glad that we are talking about this, because I am in the process of rebranding myself right now, right?
Because you were Black Amateur Vegan. That was going well. Remember that?
Was going well. I if y'all don't remember, I used to be vegan. If you remember those days, I was a Black Amateur Vegan at one point. However, life has taken me in so many different roads, child.
If I didn't get to that part, wow.
I haven't even got into the.
You haven't even got into the valleys here, because
y'all, we could be here all day. I have literally lived 16 billion lives in the 31 years that I've been here. I have been a dental assistant. I have worked in corporations. I have worked at a law office. People don't even remember that. I've lived in different places. If I could tell you, I need to write a book at this point. That's where I'm at.
No, I completely forgot. But okay, so sorry to cut you off here. What I do want you to touch on, because I think this goes back to things that are not talked about. So yes, you thought you were going to do something in your career. You didn't. You got fired one time. You've been in all these path. However, let's transition to your health scenario here because we're
gonna talk
you had wanted to get weight loss surgery.
I did.
And so that's what led you to become vegan and just making more conscious decisions of your health and your body and your eating and all that stuff so that you can get the surgery. Yes. You got the surgery. You literally almost died. This is not an exaggeration.
No,
I know
this is not an exaggeration.
Like,
I am literally
I know we say like, oh, this little thing, or literally, no, she literally, in the actual sense of the word,
I was literally hospital like, hey, y'all, this is it. Y'all want to come talk to me?
Okay, it's not funny. It's not funny.
Tell me what y'all want. What y'all want me? Listen, I'm gonna tell you my deepest, darkest secrets before I'm sorry. It's not funny. I know y'all.
No, it's not funny.
It's not funny.
Unserious.
But when you look,
situation.
I keep telling people that I'm seriously unserious. But yeah, like 3 years ago, I decided that
died. And then you had to like relearn to walk. Like you had to go move to Georgia to get rehabilitated, basically. Yes. And then here you are back, and you're better. Okay, you still got the handicap sticker, but you're back and you're better.
Actually, this month is up, so I don't know if I'm gonna go back.
We need to renew it because you still need
to. Like everybody else, they be like, renew it. I'm like, for what? I can walk. No,
yes, I touch a little bit on that because at that time you weren't even 30 yet. You were 28,
I wasn't. 29. I had weight loss surgery when I was 28, and I'm glad that we are. Because I haven't really been open, and I only have been open about my weight loss surgery to people because let's just be clear, I come from a family who likes to talk about your weight a lot.
They're all Black families. My grandma would be like,
"They be in your business." My mom also is a weight loss surgery recipient, and I remember when my mom had weight loss surgery, I was also overweight at the time as a kid, and they kept saying, "Oh, when you grow up, you're gonna end up being like your mom," and I was so frightened about that. Like, oh my God, I'm gonna end up like my mom, but I am completely different than Samantha, child. Me and her are two different people.
Yeah. And it's also different times because when you did your mom, you said you were a kid, so that was like in the early 2000s.
I'm at that time I was a whole adult, right? And so, when I had weight loss, okay, let me back this up. I never intended to have weight loss surgery. I want y'all to know this, and everybody's story regarding having weight loss surgery is different. So don't think that just people. I was cool with being as my mom called it, vivacious. I was cool being big at that point, and I hate to use the word big, but I was overweight. I didn't mind it. I was cool. I was a happy person.
Everybody's overweight, and not by what your physical appearance is, but if you go to the doctor and they actually do your body weight and your weight and your height.
I'm currently, if y'all can see me now,
your body fat, whatever it is.
Yeah, but if I was to tell you right now, I just went to the doctor a couple months ago. They was like, I'm overweight, child.
Yeah, no, Tamra looks like a lollipop for those listening on Apple and Spotify. So, like, if you're on YouTube, you see her, but Apple and Spotify, I like to give the people the visual if they're just doing the audio.
Yeah, visual. When I had decided to have weight loss surgery, it was not because I wanted to have weight loss surgery to lose weight. I had weight loss surgery because I knew that eventually I was going to want to have children. I have PCOS. I won't say it was severe at the time. Now we are in a good, happy, balanced place or whatever. But I had severe PCOS. And I remember the conversation between me and my doctor was like, listen, you're 28. Are you planning to have kids anytime soon? No. Well, at this rate, if you keep going this route, you won't be able to have them, right? That was literally the conversation. I love my doctor. And if you guys think that that's crazy for her to say that, no, me and my doctor are...
Doctors need to be more honest.
Yeah, like be honest.
In, like, conversations, because I think that in my experience, I mean, I'm relatively healthy, but like a couple times when I actually go to the doctor with an issue, they're just like shooing me out, or they're like, oh, like try this, try that, try this, try that. And it didn't work. So I'm like, so what's the problem here? We have figured out no problem. And I paid about
we don't have any type of resolution to any problem that I got going on. So my doctor, whom I love dearly, she and I had a chat, and she said, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. And I decided, you know what, and on the sheet of paper that she had given to me about PCOS and the things that I could be doing, she stated there was one of the options was weight loss surgery. So I was like, oh guys, let's try this. So in March of 21, I called up some random, and I won't say random, they are a reputable place. Let's just be clear. I called up this place and I said, hey, I'm ready to have it. She called, I went in for a consultation. And in September of 21, I had weight loss surgery. Okay, y'all, listen. Weight loss surgery is a selective surgery. So if anybody that is currently listening to this and say that that is the easy way out, is absolutely not.
No, because there's a lot of like work after you get it done,
No,
like
before all of that. But what I
yeah.
will tell you this, I went into that surgery room one person and left a completely different person, right? I woke up the next morning, unbeknownst to me, that my doctor had went into my stomach and taken not 75, not 85, but she had taken 95% of my stomach along with a piece of my esophagus.
Was that the plan?
No, that's not how that works. Weight loss surgery, they take between 75 and 85%. Okay. So this woman had gone into my body, because I allowed her to. I'd signed off. Okay, y'all. Let me just let y'all know I signed my life away.
And you got it done in New York or in Georgia?
I had it in New York. I had it in Long Island.
Who went with you? Where? I was like, where was I? But I was here now. So who went with you?
We were in the middle of COVID. Let's start there. We were in the middle of COVID, right? Mind you, the side of the hospital that I was on was the bariatric side, and like across the hall was the COVID patients.
So could anybody come in with you at that time?
No, we couldn't, because we was in the middle.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
We were in the middle. We were.
I heard you, and I still asked. I was like, wait a second.
We've lived so many lives in the last 4 years, but we were in COVID, and I went by myself. I went into that surgery by myself. Y'all, left out of there not necessarily by myself. I had somebody come and pick me up, but so a month after I had weight loss surgery, I realized I was sick. I didn't know how sick I was, but I was sick. And I couldn't keep anything down, and suddenly my health was starting to decline. I was starting to faint. And then November of 21, I was hospitalized.
Forever, it felt like. Because I was like, what's wrong with Tamra? I was like, where's she at?
No one could get in touch with me. My mom couldn't get in touch with me because I was so ill, I couldn't even stand. Right.
So at this point, you were still at home. You didn't go back to the hospital.
I was still in New York, sick and not sure of how sick I was.
But you didn't go back to the doctor or anything in New York?
Because they were like, "This is normal." They was like, "Oh, you're gonna be weak. You're gonna be weak." No, y'all, I was past weak. Okay. When I was hospitalized in November of 21, that is when I was made aware that. Oh no, I lied. They were like, "Oh, you're just dehydrated." Cool. So then I got hospitalized a second time, and it would come to find out that I was dehydrated and I coded. So I was dying.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
I want to tell y'all how close to death I was. I felt, and this is, we could talk about spirituality in another day, in another moment, but I felt my angels calling me.
No, and people say that though, like when you're about to have like a near-death experience, or like you
can feel it.
Like,
you can feel it. And when you're dying, and that's why one thing I will say, and this is gonna sound like very morbid or maybe weird to people, but death, there's something beautiful in death. And when you're dying, there's a peace that comes over you. That peace means y'all are dying. So if you feel it, y'all, I'm telling you, it's a little bit of.
I do feel like old people, like I just even remember when my grandma, my mom's mom was about to pass.
Yeah.
Like she was asking to like see certain grandkids and like do certain stuff. And like, yeah, I think it's so interesting. In that sense, is even when my grandma, my dad's mom went back to like the hospice or nursing home, whatever her situation was, like we all just were like, okay, I feel like this is the time where like we probably should go actually see her, because like, you know, when people get old, they be in and out the nursing homes all the time. But then
so it was like, okay, cool, this is fine. Yeah, no.
Then there's a one time where you're like, oh no, this is not. This is the last time.
This is it. And I had that moment that time, and so then I got better a little bit. I say better very loosely, y'all.
Yeah.
Very loosely, okay? It wasn't until March of 22, on my birthday, on my 29th birthday.
Yeah, there's a lot to be going through.
Yeah.
And COVID and the craziness.
Everything was going on. I called my mom, and to this day, my mother hates that we don't talk about this conversation at all, because it's very sensitive. But I did call my mother and tell her, I was like, hey, just want to call you, let you know that my time is coming, and I would like for you to come and pick me up so that I can come and die at your house. And unfortunately, that was where I was at. I was dying. And
so what did they give you or prescribe or say? Like,
okay, that's another story, because this is why you got to have good people in healthcare who actually care. So when my mom,
That is wild.
my mother came, when I got that phone call, that was a phone call. I remember it clear as day. It was 4:00 p.m. on my birthday, March 11th. On March 12th, my mom was here in New York with the car packed up, ready to come and take me to be with her.
Drove up.
She drove up like a thief
And
in the
that's
night.
mothers. You call them, they gonna be there in a second.
If it comes to their babies, they outside. They're outside, okay?
Yeah.
And she came and got me. And we sat in the car, and as we were driving, I was in and out of consciousness a lot. Because I was cool with dying at that point. And I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but I was
Not
cool
Tupac.
with dying.
Wait, Tupac or Biggie ready to die?
I was, listen, okay, ready to die.
And this is seriously unserious because this is a real situation.
No,
and I never even knew the full story. I just remember like you cut me up to speed because I'm the friend that if you just went through something crazy, I'm not the one that's gonna ask you a whole bunch of questions when you're explaining it to me. I'm just gonna be like, oh, okay, like so what's going on? Like keeping it regular because I hate when you're telling a traumatic story or something and people are like, oh, so what happened next? Like,
yeah, like why are you
like what happened to this? Like what happened to that? That's not me. I'm just listening.
But being in a healthier place to tell your story,
no, exactly. So that's why I'm just putting it out there, friends. If you're going through something, you got to call me. I'm a good listener, but I'm not about to be the one annoying you asking a whole bunch of questions because
she's definitely not. She wants you to be healthy to tell the conference. She wants you to live to tell the story, okay? I'm like,
I just know when I call somebody stressed, I don't need you asking me 1,000 questions. I'm calling to tell you the situation. Just sit there. Don't be poking holes, asking what about this, what about that.
No blowing them.
Or why didn't you do this?
And they came over. No.
Yeah.
I probably told Amber this kind of this story, and she's still hearing a little piece of everything now. But
I didn't know the whole full timeline of events.
Yeah, it was just crazy.
Pieces. So you get back to Georgia.
Yeah, so we got to Georgia, and my mom we walked in the house. Y'all, I was unable to walk. My mom basically had to carry me into the house.
This is March 2022.
This is March of 22, right? I had not physically seen myself in months because I physically couldn't stand up to walk or look or whatever.
So, like, were you eating or like were you attempting to eat? Were you like showering? Like what's going on here?
No, it was bad, y'all. Like I could not. I couldn't shower.
And yeah, because you couldn't stand. Like you were weak.
I was so weak. I had to have other people to come help me.
Yeah,
I could put my clothes on. I was still going to work, y'all. This is gonna sound crazy. I was still.
Yeah, that's wild. I was still getting up,
physically unable to drive. I was going blind.
Because at that point, you were working in Westchester still.
Yeah, when I was working in Westchester, and I was still driving across the bridge in a vehicle. Okay, don't do that. I would not suggest that. I do not recommend that.
No.
But I was going to work and doing all these different things. When I finally got to Georgia, to my mom's house, we walked in the house, and my mom sat me on the couch, and she said, "Let me tell you something. I heard what you said on the phone, but you're not coming here to die. You are coming here to live, right?
Samantha's gonna revive you."
Sam is not playing that, okay? I'm her only baby. I'm her only child. I'm the only child.
Roberta too. I'm telling you, Roberta will kill somebody over me.
She is not playing that. She was like, "You're not gonna sleep in this house and die." I know that's not the case. So when I tell y'all, my mom, for at least almost 6 months, my mom doctored on me, cared for me. When I finally was able to get to the doctor's office, maybe a week after I got into Georgia, I did not realize this, but when I got in there, I was 140 something pounds.
Because originally, before your surgery, how much did you weigh? Because that's
I weighed. Oh yeah, I'm very honest about that. I weighed at surgery. My highest weight was 305. My surgery weight was 280.
So that's dramatic. Still.
That's very dramatic. Yeah. And then because you go through this pre-op situation where you only drink liquid, so your body does lose a lot of weight by then. But I want y'all to know that when you have weight loss surgery, you're not allowed to lose a certain amount of weight by a certain time. It has to be over a course of a year.
Mm-hmm.
I went from 280 to 140 something in a few months, right?
And it wasn't based off of your eating and working out or doing
that was based off the fact that I was so ill from being unable to eat and keep food down.
Yeah. And you didn't have nutrients or anything in your body now.
I was basically malnourished, okay? So by the time I had gotten myself somewhat healthy, I wasn't really healthy at all because I was able to get to the doctor's office and my feet were going black. So
Yes, yeah. I remember you told
this
me
is a part where people, this is, I won't say graphic, but my feet were going black. I had gone to the physical therapist office and she said, she said, not Miss Newton, Jesus, mommy, I know that's not your last name, child. She said, Miss Taylor, can you come in here really quickly? Like, she was screaming at my mom to come in because she had taken my shoes off my feet because
yeah.
I couldn't do it myself. And my feet had gone black, basically. She said, we have to get some circulation to her feet immediately because if not, she's going to lose her feet. I want people to realize how real this is. When people
No, it isn't, and that's what like
that's
you
real.
and somebody else the girl came on talked about her neurological disorder because we don't talk about health things that are impacting us as young people, quote
Right.
unquote, because we don't picture that that's gonna happen to us. So
You
we're
were
just
young.
like,
I was young. I'm a whippersnapper out here, right? But my feet were my feet were literally in the process of needing to be amputated off my own body, right? Both of them, not one. I'm talking about both of my feet, y'all. So my mom, God bless that woman's soul, but she told my mom, she said, we're not gonna cut her feet off. We can't cut her feet off. We can't cut her feet off. So let's figure out how we're gonna get some circulation to her feet. So my feet started, like, after a while, my feet started to come together. However, because of the nerve damage that I experienced during that time of getting the lack of circulation to my feet,
yeah.
I currently cannot feel my feet anymore. So I
And this
want
is
people
2 years later.
This is 2 years later. I want people to know I do not. When people see me walking, they be like, "Do you feel it?" I feel some of it, but not all of it. Okay. And I don't have. I literally, you could touch my toes and I wouldn't know you touched them.
Yeah.
The only thing I may feel sometimes is when I have like nerve spasms and I can feel that. But this
Yeah.
is the result of surgery that I did to like change my life, right?
Yeah. It changed it for sure.
And
Not the way you thought.
I'm changed. So I'm changed. But I am a walking testimony. So when
Period.
so I'll say that. So as I was able to get better, my mom brought me. She said, "You gonna live," and I did, y'all. So because I'm having this conversation with you all now, and
Yes. To God be the glory.
to God be the glory. And in that process, when I had started going to physical therapy because I was on a walker for almost another 8 months.
Yeah.
Right?
Then you had your cane.
I had a cane, but from the cane, they was like, "No, girl, you need a walker." So I had a walker.
Because you and mom both went out with the walkers and
We
the
was
cane.
out with the walkers.
You
We
had
was
the
cute.
hip surgery, and
We
we
was
went to
cute.
the store or something.
We was cute. We was cute. Mine had a little seat on it. I was
Oh my God, you guys are so funny.
I was outside, okay? But my physical therapist, as I was getting better and she was taking me off of the walker, she says, "Hey, I need you to find something to do outside of this, like outside of physical therapy." And she said, "I don't want you to do too much, but I want you to do something that can keep you moving because it looks like you're doing a lot better, and I want you to continue to be progressing with your weight loss, but I also want you to, do something that's going to be safe."
Yeah.
And that's when I was able to start cycling. So
yeah, cycling literally saved your life.
Cycling saved my life, and I know a lot of people.
I'm gonna make you a shirt that says it. Let me write that down.
Yeah,
cycling saved my life.
But when people ask me now, they're like, "You can't feel your feet, but you cycle." At one point I was cycling 10 times a week, y'all, and Amber can attest. I was cycling 10 times a week. I live for cycling. I live for it, and it has been my safe space. It has given me a safe spot, a space for community. I've met two of my coolest friends on this planet in that space. And now I am in the space of CrossFit because I'm
yes, you tried that class.
Yes, I'm able to stand and move my body. Yo, when I tell you oh God, that I don't want to cry because like, dang, this really is healing me right now. But
I do what I can. People on Sippin' Sunday, the podcast, thank you for being here.
Yeah. The coolest thing is that I'm able to look back on those moments, like where I was like, I knew I was dying, y'all. I knew I was dying. But to look back on that and be this person that you see now, still living, laughing, having moments or whatever, I'm here to tell you that you can have the life you desire. And so in that process, as we were talking earlier about rebranding myself, one of the things that I have learned in the last year, as I've been cycling, as I've been doing different workouts is that I'm obsessed with fitness. I'm obsessed with fitness, nutrition, and so I've got some things that I'm working on currently that I'm proud of. Like
Yes, we'll talk
yeah,
offline.
we'll talk offline, but I've got some things that I'm working on because I'm like, I want to help my community.
Period.
But I want my community to be not necessarily, you know how we like, yeah, we die of heart attacks, which we do. We got high blood pressure because y'all love to eat everything swimming in gravy. Okay.
And they add salt to everything. Like I
Everything.
remember the one time a long time ago, this is like 2017, when I was doing Whole 30, and I went to my mom's house and I was specific about what I can or cannot eat. And she went and sprinkled some breadcrumbs in the meatloaf or something. I said,
You
why
know
you put
what?
breadcrumbs in here? I told you I can't eat that. She said, oh, a little bit's not gonna hurt you.
Godspeed, Robin, because she is, you listen, one thing, if you go to Mama Robin's house, she don't care nothing about your diet. She be like,
No.
look, I got these cookies right here. You want them? Girl, I had some. They were so good. And
And it's just like butter and everything, salt and everything. Like,
live. God bless her. But no, there's just so many things that I would love to help our community do. And because I've been overweight, now I'm in my, I guess, small phase. I'm sorry, y'all, but I'm gonna always be a big girl. I don't care what you looking at right
you're
now.
hilarious to me though, because you're like, oh my god, I gained a pound. I'm like, Tamra,
Oh my god, yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I do be like, I gained a
but I
pound.
think it's also your mind because you were bigger for so long that you're
Yeah,
like
I
still kind of
can't
sometimes
go back
picturing
there.
yourself like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Even
and
though
so
you don't look like that. And then you're so worried that you don't want to get back to that. So you're just
right, because
like, oh my
there's a
god, a
fear.
pound.
There's definitely a fear, and
But it won't be one day.
no, and I've been working with a nutritionist for the last 2 months now, and she and I have been like really cool buddy buddy. Me and her be talking about sports nutrition and things of that nature. But I think these moments, and while I say that I hated going through that,
Yeah.
it also taught me, it actually birthed something in me that I didn't realize had been birthed into me. And now I'm trying to give birth to that. Well, it impregnated me with something, and then that's a whole other story. But anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to give birth to something that I never thought could exist because I've done a couple of health moments and health journeys in my life, right? And so I would love to be able to assist, as I'm an educator, I would like to educate my community on how we could be
Yeah.
mindful eaters, not be just healthy, but let's be mindful. Because one thing I keep telling y'all, I'm gonna eat a cookie. I'm gonna have a cookie.
Yeah.
Straight up.
And I think a big thing too, like not even just health, but literally anything that somebody's trying to teach somebody else or telling them their story of is like what works for me might not work for you. But I'm telling you what I do, and you can kind of take what works for you or take what doesn't and then try to figure out another path. But I think that's like just such an issue that people have. It's like if I say, oh, I'm not a morning person, like I don't want to do something before 6 a.m. They're like, oh my god, well you need to wake up at 6 a.m. because that's what all the millionaires do. Okay, well
I'm not waking up. Okay, listen, I do love. Now
you wake up early though, so don't even
I wake
try
up
to say you
early,
wake up.
but I am not wake up early like a billionaire early. So I wake up to do the things that I want to do. So you know how
Yeah,
people are like, yeah, I by 6 a.m. at the gym and I have protein shake by this. Okay, I will say that I do like to go to a 6 a.m. workout class because I enjoy it,
yeah.
because Tamra enjoys that.
But
Not
also because you got work in person and you gotta get there before work. Because if you don't go, then after it's like too much.
and now I have been going to work out afternoons because I feel like I need to give my body rest, because we all need
Yeah,
some rest. A lot of us are not sleeping. Make sure you're getting your rest. That's important.
yeah,
But I do like getting up early, but I like to get up early because it's something that I want to do, not because somebody on TikTok told me that the billionaires is doing it. Y'all, please
yeah.
stop. Don't let TikTok tell you.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you have to figure out what's gonna work for you. Like you can take tips
Yeah.
and tricks from stuff that you see, which is something I do like about social media is that it shows you different ways you can do things.
Mm-hmm.
But the downfall is that sometimes it keeps showing you like a saturation of like just this one thing, and like that's just not always
like
the way it
that's
should
not
go.
realistic, babe. I
No.
think that we have to figure out what works best for us. And if that works for you, that's why I always tell people, leave y'all's relationships, and that's another story. But leave your relationships off of social media and what y'all do in y'all's relationships, because
social media relationship stuff is just
it doesn't work for everybody. And I mean, that's also with your
And
health.
they're also only telling you what they want you to hear at that one moment. They're not telling you from the day they met to the day somebody cheated to the day they got divorced
Oh
to the
my
day
God,
they
that's why we be so
reconnected. Like,
heartbroken. When okay, I don't know. My generation is from the era of YouTube couples. Okay, and when those YouTube couples will break up, you'll be like, "But y'all just did a challenge last week, right?" Like,
it's the time.
but you have to do what works for you. And I think that when you do
All
what
aspects of life. Like, I just want to reiterate, all aspects of life. Do what's
that's
right for you.
yeah, that's why I say like that's why when I told you I said I realized that I was an adult a couple weeks ago because I realized like, babe, we if you meet any adult, whether they're your parents' age or your grandparents' age, let me just let y'all know they still winging it too. Okay?
Even if the old people don't like to admit it, because I, from my events, meet like obviously all ranges of people, but
Mm-hmm.
old people specifically, like older people that are either grandparents or have like adult kids like older than us, they're the first ones to be like, oh yeah, like I don't need this, or like I have it figured out, or they have that same like mindset of like, oh yeah, like I worked, I had kids, like I retired, like that's
Yeah,
where
like
I'm
why aren't you?
doing
And
stuff.
that's why I don't have conversations with them Gen Xers or them Boomers. I don't have no conversations with them
It
because
depends. I read the vibe, but I think that's the biggest group that has either resonated or not resonated. But where the connection can come for them is like if I ask them, do they have kids or do they have grandkids? And then I'm like, well, this is what
yeah,
they're talking about. And then like go from there. So, yeah.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to have those conversations with those, and even when and y'all, I think, and you and I have had this conversation. We're in a place when we're having conversations with our parents as adults,
Yeah,
right?
it's rough. It's rough with these
It's
parents,
real
parents
rough
and your
because we out
parents.
here raising them. Really, if you think about it, I'm at the age where I'm raising my parents, but
Yeah.
um,
Leon every day. Leon
my
and Roberta.
my mom and my stepfather had a conversation with me a couple weeks ago that I had to tell them, unfortunately, this conversation cannot continue. I absolutely said that. But we were talking about my career and we were talking about my job. And I was like, we work in education, so we don't get paid a lot. And here is the response. We'll get a new job.
Yeah, listen here. The climate for new jobs is not
It
that
was that
quick.
easy to pick up and get a new job and make the money. Like when we tell our
Yeah.
parents how much these companies, whether you work in higher education, whether you work in
Any
corporate,
company, really. I feel like
any
so many
company,
varying
when
fields
you
is
tell
easy.
them how much you make, they be like, "Well, you have a master's degree." Say that.
Yeah, that doesn't even matter these days. I be forgetting I have one some days.
Honestly, I done already told what's the nail net they keep calling. I keep telling them, I'm like, listen, you can tell Joe Byron and the rest of them people up in there that I can
Yeah.
mail a piece of paper. It's in my closet currently. I can mail a piece of paper back to you. Actually, no, I won't mail back my master's degree because that was free.
Yeah. I
The
forget
Berkeley
really
one, you can
sometimes I
have
have a
that
master's.
because who is gonna see that? Like, I
Yeah.
know I got it. So
Yeah.
I'm cool with people in the registrar's office. I work in it, clearly. I can just pull a transcript. Babe, please. Not to do that. That's illegal. Don't I will not do that.
Oh
Don't tell
god.
nobody else I would do that. But what I'm saying is
You
that
just told everybody. Listen,
I
you would
did, I
do it.
just told
So
everybody. But like I'm saying, like I just feel like at this point, like if it we're all
yeah.
just winging it. So I just want
I feel like the parents' advice sometimes is like in their mind simple solution, but if it was that simple, like it would have been
I would have
done.
been doing it. He was like my stepfather was like, yeah, like just get a new job. I'm like,
You
do
got one for me, sir? Where is it? Please.
if you can tell me where to go and who's gonna be paying me at least 300K, because let's be clear, most financial advisors are telling us, our generation millennials, that we need to have at least $2 million liquid by the time we retire.
From where? From where?
I was like, where's this $2 million coming from? They was
And
like,
a lot of companies too, like cut how much they contribute to retirement, or they only contribute if you contribute. It's a whole.
it's a whole like that for when and that's also becoming an adult is understanding what your 401k is doing for you,
yeah.
how it can work for you.
Or if you have a 403b or
Yeah, like
all other
what does
accounts.
that look like? And some school, like for us, some of our schools that we work at are either they're 403b or they are 401k. You just never know, and you having to keep up
Yeah.
with all that information. Also, the conversation about your health insurance, how does that work for you? I didn't even realize this until last year that we get that you don't get any type of like tax relief until you meet your deductible on your insurance.
Oh,
And
for
some of
healthcare,
us have
yeah.
$5,600. I know I do. I'll be honest. I have a 5,600 deductible that I have to meet before I
Yeah, and
have to
that's
pay for anything.
yeah.
How am
Mm-mm.
I with what? I would literally have to go to the doctor every single day.
Yeah, absolutely not. And then before we close out, just you have the opportunity to ask me a question because Sharif, that was the last guest we had.
Mhm.
Was it? Oh yeah. Yes, that was the last one that was recorded in time to ask me a question. And when he did that, because I think he either was like, I want to ask you a question, or I was like, I'll let you ask me a question. I actually like that because when I
Yeah.
have the guest, it's like a flowing back and forth conversation, mostly focused on you and like, I add my little ad libs, my 2 cents, whatever. But I would like people to ask me a question now as a guest of this lovely
Oh
production.
yeah.
So,
I can't wait to ask this question.
oh God, here we go.
No, I've been wanting to ask you this because I feel like, I mean, I could be biased because I think you're the coolest person on the planet, but
I do what I can.
um, when and this kind of probably a little sappy, but one thing that I always say that I tell people, I'm like, oh my gosh, like Amber, literally always like, regardless of what Amber's going through, y'all, she always seems to look like she has just got it, like she figured it out, right? But what I do, I've always wanted to ask you, like, what in this moment, what is the one fear you have of the future? Because I know
Oh, I can.
we always talk about, okay, I'm planning this because let me tell you something. Amber is truly, she is truly her big three in her birth chart, and we're going to talk about that. Y'all don't need to
Again, I forgot what it was.
we want to talk about that. That's not people's business for them to be reading this your birth chart because girl, they'll be like, oh yeah. But Amber does have some Capricorn placements,
Oh yeah, it
and
was mostly Leo and Capricorn.
yes, you got a lot of Capricorn placements. So do I. My rising sign is Cap, and your moon sign is in Capricorn. And
Yeah.
well,
Okay.
what is your biggest fear for the future? Because I feel like you have an idea of what it is because you always talk about it. You're always planning for it. But like, what is something that you just know? Like, I don't think I can plan for it. I don't even know if I can like pinpoint it.
Well, the one thing that came to my mind is like biggest fear is my parents going because when those people go, take me with them, pack me up, and send
it
me out of this establishment because, like, I know that kind of similar to what you were saying of like there's something beautiful about death. Like when somebody does pass away, especially like kind of thinking about my grandparents specifically, like my grandmas, because my grandfather's my dad's dad I met but don't remember too much because he passed when I was like 5 or 6, and then my dad's mom I never met. But my
right,
grandma was like I was close to them. But both of them passed in like older age. My grandma on my mom's mom was 80, my dad's mom was 93. So
right,
it still was very, very sad and still is like grief happens like even now of like, oh, I wish they were here, or like I wonder what they would say, or like I wish that like I knew more things like that. But they passed after living their life. Like they had kids, they have grandkids, like they left their impact and we're here and we're still keeping them alive.
right.
But then for my parents, I'm just like I can't picture my life without them here. Like I just can't
Yeah,
comprehend that. Like I really cannot picture it. Like I'm sure I'll
move
be
on.
okay, but
Yeah,
the thought about it is like, no, we don't.
I can agree.
And because they're getting older, like the reality is they're getting older
Yeah,
and they're seeing some of their friends pass away, whether it was illness or an accident or like whatever's happening. And I'm just like, I can't picture my life without my parents in it because they are still as my parents of an adult. Like, so
yeah.
there,
But a little
like,
piece of you is still like, in a sense, still a child to them.
yeah, and they need to get over that part. They do, they did better. I will say they've done better. Like
Yeah,
dad definitely started doing that more before mom,
yeah,
but
yeah.
mom has gotten better on
But
that because sometimes
yeah,
I'm like, mom, I'm your child, but I'm not a child. And I
yeah.
think it's because I'm her only child too.
That'd be
And
the
I'm just like, okay. So that's definitely I would say that's the main one because I just again cannot picture without and my sister too. Like I love her in there because take me with them all, please. Like just take me with them.
I agree with that one. I agree. But personally, as a person, as an individual, when it comes to your life, not your parents' life.
That's my life. That's my life.
It is your life. I'm talking about like outside of your parents. Let's take the parents out of it because that.
Okay, I get what you're trying to ask me, and that was gonna be the next thing I'm saying. But like, so the like relationship piece. The thing is of why I didn't necessarily list that as a fear is because going back to actually what we said in the beginning, I never had a dream to be in a relationship or a dream to be with a person. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I foresee how somebody hearing that can be like, well, it doesn't seem like you want a relationship or you intended to be in a relationship or you're doing like the work to be in a relationship. But I don't view it that way. So like that's not really a fear. Like I want a relationship, I want a life partner, but it's really not a fear for me to be by myself because I just like think like
because you know you're gonna be okay.
Exactly, because I'm like, if that's what's planned for my life, that's what's planned for my life. But I would like to have a person. I'm not saying I'm not going to seek out a person now. I can say that there are definitely moments when I was like, I don't really care, whatever. But again, realizing we're just getting older, realizing that a lot of my friends are married or in relationships or about to be married, you get tired of being the only single person around. Because another point that you made too is like people always just view you that way. And because I am like an unserious serious person, people would always be like, oh, like Amber's like not a joke, like that's not the word that people would use. People would think like I wasn't ever gonna grow up or I wasn't ever gonna be like serious about serious moments. Because that's not what I give. I don't give like stern, serious to the point. I give like, okay, what we doing? What's going on?
Okay, well, let me tell you something. One thing I can admire about Amber is that she always like if this don't work out, it's cool. Like we don't keep it pushing. The party must still go on, and I think that that's important to realize. Like as far as like when you talk about relationships, it's like I think that when you stop worrying about whether it's going to happen or not, that's when it typically happens.
Yes, well, you sent me that TikTok that was like, I'm least expecting it. Where is it?
Where's that I'm least expecting it? No, I when I stopped thinking about it as much as I mean, y'all like. That's a whole nother podcast session.
Yeah. But, so I would say the fear is losing my parents, sister, and I would even just say somebody close to me, like one of my close friends. Because thankfully, like I haven't in a long time lost like somebody I'm like close with, like daily talking to. And I think that's just something as you get older, you're just like, this can happen at any time. Like,
oh, it can happen at
anything. And oh Lord, I don't know what I'm gonna do. The good Lord is gonna have to see me through that because I don't even know what would happen if somebody like super close to me passes away.
I think and you talked about that in your grief session. You know,
because
you just never know when it's going to happen. And grief can be so many different things. And I didn't even, when I tell you I didn't even scratch on the surface of the things I thought I was going to say today. But
no, literally, the questions, we asked none of the questions because we just had a questions,
but the things that I thought I was going to touch on, but I'll say this little tidbit. I think that a lot of us are spiraling out emotionally, not because we're upset, but we are grieving the life we thought we were going to have and did not get it. Right.
And that's why I think that now we're doing like as a society a little better in our outlook on life. Like, yes, we're saying like bills are ghetto, the economy is crazy. People don't really know if they want to have kids because it's so expensive. Like literally most of our issues are surrounded around money that we talk about. But I do think being now in 2024 and we realize things that we lost from the pandemic, we lost just in the past 4 years. It's almost literally like, I think I said this. This is the thing about having a podcast. You be saying stuff and you think you said it before, you can't remember. But it's really like this is graduation because it's been like 4 years. So it's like
we can go into the real world and be like, oh, I figured. And I said, I won't use the word.
I figured out how to make it in the moment I'm in. I think that's the best way to say it.
You know what? You just gonna have to you're gonna have to just thug it out at this point. Like
every day, just unexpected.
So I agree. I think that just keep winging it.
Literally.
Like, just keep swimming, but nah, just keep winging it, y'all. Like,
You're doing fine. You made it this far, so.
I made it this far. I mean, I almost killed over a couple times, but other than that, like, I'm here to tell the story. I can tell you all the trips that I've been on, the experiences that I've had, and
Literally.
I'm thankful and grateful for that. And I'm thankful and grateful for you, of course, always. You know this.
Thank you. You as well.
And that's why I say to y'all, like like I said earlier, like, y'all, I really know Amber. It's not like that little fakey stuff. Like, yeah, I seen her at an event. That's not your homegirl. You don't know her like that.
Oh.
Have you used her Keurig machine? No. I have.
Use her Keurig machine.
Have you used the cups in her lovely cabinets in her beautiful home? No, you haven't. So you don't really know her like that. Just saying.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed having you on. Obviously, this was long overdue because we tried to do it before. I don't even remember, but again, I feel like everything happens when it's supposed to happen. Especially with my friends. I don't mind my friends being on the podcast. People have said like they want to be on the podcast, and it just didn't work out for whatever reasons and stuff. Right. But I'm very glad at this time we finally got you on to tell your little story or big story. Again, just using the general millennial lingo.
Right.
Let the people know. Not you doing this shimmy. Where they can find you on the social media, okay, and if they have any questions and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. You can find me at she_breezy, BREEZYYY. So there's 3 Y's. Follow me. I mean, my social media is a little. I gotta do some work on it, but
we don't really do too much on there. But
yeah, there's not a lot on it. Because I am in the process of being a new person, and there's so many transitions happening in my life. But my favorite quote is on there. But yeah, come find me. Let's chit chat if you enjoyed my crazy, and you want to chat or hang. I'm always down.
Yes, we love this. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course.